Hello, bookworms. Pastor Beckett here with another book review. Today I will be reviewing The Fall of Hyperion, the second book in the Hyperion Cantos series by Dan Simmons. I just finished this at the time of this recording last night, or really early this morning at 1 a.m. Couldn't put it down, only had like 82 pages left to read. So, anyway, The Fall of Hyperion. So, the first book ended on a cliffhanger as the Shrike pilgrims finally arrived at the time tombs to confront this, enigmatic, demonic monster slash fallen angel thing called the Shrike, leaving you dangling from the precipice of the plot and yearning to reach up its plane to continue journeying with the pilgrims. Like its prequel, The Fall of Hyperion is a masterful mix of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror, as I keep saying, but now with a dose of political intrigue in the hegemony, which is the form of government throughout the entire galaxy. The first book was filled with adroit character development, and now here you feel part of the group as they continue their grim adventure. Now, I've read sci-fi books before where the scenery descriptions that the author tried to illustrate were difficult for me to visualize, albeit in a universe I've been familiar with for more than 2 decades. The books I have in mind, and when I say this, are Greg Bear's Forerunner saga for the Halo universe. In this second installment of the Hyperion Cantos, Simmons continues his deft ability at helping the reader imagine what this universe looks like. His descriptions are not too simplistic and they're not too complex. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time on them like J.R.R. Tolkien does. And there are plenty of words I actually have to look up in the dictionary, which I think some readers might not like that, but I like it. To me, that just means it's good writing because it builds your vocabulary. But I remain impressed by Simmons' consummate ability to get clear visualizations when I walked into these books having zero knowledge about the universe. Now, because of the political intrigue, the first 100 pages or so are a bit slow, but not boringly so. Which is totally unlike the first 100 pages of The Fellowship of the Ring by Tolkien. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, but once you get past that, it's totally worth it. And then Tolkien makes huge improvements in the second and third books. But anyway, so some books with a slow beginning to their book have you feel as if you're wading through a sea of molasses, right? But the slowness here is purposeful, and the suspense keeps you moving. And while the whole series takes place far into the future with outstanding technological advancements as humanity is spread throughout the galaxy, the story is more about humanity itself. Now, with their access to the web and therefore constant access to information, so you don't know who the person sitting in front of you is, just look up their dossier like in the blink of an eye. If they lose access to it, to the web, they don't know what to do with themselves, which seems prophetic of our own time. So this book was published in 1990, before the invention of smartphones. So for example, it's difficult for us to keep our noses out of our phones for more than 5 minutes. Virtually every time I come to a stoplight, I see people just staring at their phones. All right, which is irresponsible because you're still driving. Just because you're stationary doesn't mean you're no longer driving. You still need to pay attention to your surroundings. You don't need constant access to information from your phone. It really is an addiction for a lot of us. So take that ridiculousness, translate it to accessing information via the web with merely a thought, which humans have been doing for centuries in this universe. and then multiply it by 100, and then take it away from them suddenly. They don't know what to do with themselves when that happens. Just like we don't know what to do with ourselves when we're at a stoplight or waiting at the doctor's office or when there's silence at the dinner table. The first thing we do is take out our phone. It's really hard for us to disconnect from everyone on the internet via our phones so we can connect with real people in front of us. It's that sad reality multiplied by 100 in a Hyperion Cantos. Ironically, it robs us of our humanity. Another aspect that speaks to reality is that when humans haven't seen war for 4 centuries in the Hyperion Cantos, after a galactic war breaks out, many people want to travel where it's occurring so they can watch it, which I think is akin to our real life obsession of recording anything, even crime as it's happening, rather than being human about it. Right? We would sooner record a crime than we would intervene or call the police. We would sooner record a life event rather than just living in the moment and reveling the experience, relying on our own memories rather than living vicariously through our screens. We think the web is our servant, but we are slaves to it, and the book tackles that question. And finally, most of all, the question of humanity's place in the galaxy. With our penchant for war and destruction, are we just a cancer on the galaxy, proliferating throughout the galaxy like cancer cells in a body without thought for other life so that we might flourish? Does humanity deserve to endure as a species? In the book, some say yes and seek, some say no and seek humanity's extinction. Some say yes, fighting against nihilism and suffering as much as they are against the Shrike and the Ousters. And others only care that their loved ones continue to live, even to the point of sacrificing themselves, that those whom they love might live. So that's my review of The Fall of Hyperion. 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely brilliant. So now it is on to the third book, Endymion. Now, time for a little story. Interesting thing, I accidentally came across this series. I was at a book sale in Midland, Michigan, at the mall there in Midland. And I was in their fantasy section, and I saw this book. And the cover looked really interesting. It's got that, classic kind of 80s, illustration to it, although this was published in 1995. But I read the back of it. I won't read it now, but it seemed super interesting, so I bought it for like $2. And after doing some research, I realized it's actually part of a 4-book series, the Hyperion Cantos, hence why I'm reading it. And I do not regret it. Reading more sci-fi and fantasy books that are not based on video games, which is the only sci-fi and fantasy I've read, are those based on video games like Dragon Age and Halo. And I will be reviewing those books as well on this channel, so subscribe so you can get those notifications, and please, as always, like and share. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.